Greetings, YouTube. I don't often discuss evil, actual evil. It's a topic that, for the most part, I don't need to discuss because you look at the actions of people and you can just base your thoughts and feelings on what they've done, and their intent behind them is less relevant. But sometimes there is such an egregious example of evil that you can't avoid discussing the topic itself. And today, I'm going to discuss one of the most horrendous aspects and examples of evil I've ever encountered in recent personal history. Between 1977 and 1982, the Exxon Corporation put together conclusive evidence that global climate change was being driven through man-made means and was accelerating the planet's warmth. 1977 to 1982. And since 1982, the Exxon Corporation has spent millions and millions of dollars with a concerted campaign to make sure that the public was informed that the global climate change was not happening. Not just that maintain the status quo because that's what we're putting forth. No. Or just being quiet. No. Actually trying to prove, because they can't, because they themselves knew it to be true, that global climate change was not happening. And doing everything in their power to make sure that the governments of the world did not put measures into place to forestall and then reverse the trend of human impact on global climate change. And of course, the reason they did this was to ensure that up until oil no longer becomes relevant, they make hideous profits. All, of course, subsidized, at least in the U.S., by U.S. tax dollars. Yes, the U.S. government spends our money to subsidize the most hideously profitable corporation type in the world. I've heard it once said that the most profitable corporation in the world is a well-run oil company. The second most profitable corporation in the world is a poorly run oil company. And yet we subsidize them because graft, corruption. That's the face of evil. Flat out. Executives made a decision, a conscious decision, to muddy the water and to convince the American people and the world at large that global climate change wasn't happening so they could continue to rake in profits hand over fist for as long as possible. Now, personally, I would take every Exxon executive from the first that was in office from 1977 to the present, and arrest them. And have them charged with crimes against humanity. Just turn them all over to The Hague. Because it's rare when you can actually point a finger at someone and say, these people right there, those people right there, committed an act of evil. An act of evil that is going to negatively impact every single person alive on this planet today and every person that's ever going to live on this planet. They are fully culpable in the harm that we are currently suffering and will continue to suffer because of their efforts. Because the people lying to the world have a whole lot more money and a much larger propaganda machine than the scientists who are saying reality that we need to do something about global warming. Now, remember that 97% of researchers in the world agree that global climate change is occurring and the planet is getting warmer and warmer and warmer. And of the 3% left over, most of them don't have any kind of a coherent argument. I read recently somewhere that one of the researchers said that the global climate change is happening because of Mars and Jupiter. Their research is either non-existent or non-repeatable. So those 3% aren't stalwart scientists fighting the good fight. No, they're quacks. The actual researchers, the 97% that I just mentioned, yeah, they're the ones with the data. And they're telling us, and have been telling us for a long time, that global climate change is being driven by humans, is moving forward, and we need to do something about it. But the Exxon type of propaganda machine is much louder, because, at least in America, money talks. It is, in fact, free speech, amazingly enough. Now, for those out there who are going to throw out, well, the Atlantic ice shelf got larger last winter. Well, you see, the water ice got larger, but water ice has no effect on the ocean levels. The land in ice in Antarctica got smaller, and it continues to get smaller, and that does have an impact on global water levels. Now, I'm not going to live to see the full impact of this. I don't have kids, but I have nephews. And my nephews are going to be dealing with this, and their children are going to be living in a far warmer, far more chaotic world, with worse weather, greater extremes than we are having right now. And as we already see, greater wildfires, greater rainfalls in some places, droughts in other, heavy snowfalls in some places, no snowfalls in other. We're seeing huge weather variations happening because we keep pumping more and more energy into the system. And these Exxon executives are people we can point to and say, this is the face of evil.